Question, they can ask it on YouTube. Can you read the question? Yeah. It's on YouTube directly. Where's the number of watching? Okay. At least if people go online now, there is. Huh? Okay. Dürfen Sie Stift einnehmen?
Das ist nicht so wichtig, da bin ich so wichtig.
Nein, das kommt nicht.
Weil wir wieder zusammenarbeiten.
Es wäre cool, wenn man Brandenstrom in der Arbeit spielt. Thanks for the few words. Das ist spannend. Ja, die Verschwörung. It's not heavy. Nothing. It's not heavy. Actually, case means it is. Just give me the number. Start. Okay, can we start? Good afternoon, or I should already say good evening. Welcome to this online free walking tour. It's actually our first online sightseeing tour here in English, and I'm your guide, I'm Jonathan, and I'm actually now with you. What does it mean with you? Well, you're the participant, talking to the camera, but I know there's some people behind it, watching the screen, watching on YouTube. So this is your tour, not my tour. What do I mean by saying that? I mean that I've done the tour already many, many times, and I might think what is interesting for you, what less interesting, but it's your tour, so you should decide what you want to know more in detail, what you want to know less in detail. So whenever you have a question, you have a comment, please feel free to write it on YouTube, and Julien, who is taking the camera, is the cameraman today, will just read the question, so I will answer your question. When you feel, and that's also important, that I'm talking too long about the subject that is absolutely not interesting, well, just write it on YouTube. It's enough, and we'll definitely continue. Okay, so what do we see here, where we're standing here? We're here in front of Paradeplatz. Paradeplatz is a German word and means the square of parade. Now, if you look around, well, you don't see any parades, and also historically, there haven't really been so many parades here at this area. They choose actually the name because it's way more neutral than the name that it used to be. So if you look here around, what do you think has been here? Well, it has been a marketplace, and I can just say that it stinks very, very bad. It smelled very, very bad here because it was a marketplace for pigs. And that's also why they call this place the pig market, or in Swiss German, the Säulimarkt. Try to say it, Säulimarkt. This used to be the Säulimarkt, and well, you can imagine when the first banks came here, well, it's not too professional to meet your client in front of a pig market. So they asked it actually to change the name, and well, it took some years, and it's a long story. To cut it short, they finally changed it to the more neutral square of parade, and this is actually where we're standing here. I'm sure that everybody here in Zurich, at least, or even in Switzerland, knows that place because of the very famous board game Monopoly. I'm sure you've also played it once, or even more. And in Zurich, Paradeplatz is actually the place, the most expensive place or on the Swiss Monopoly board. So when you buy here the houses and the hotels, usually you win the game. It's also in real life like this. These houses you see here are actually one of the most expensive, or built on one of the most expensive soil of Switzerland. Saying that, I'll take you with me to discover the old city of Zurich. Let's go. Ready, Julien? By the way, I'm sorry for the weather, but well, we cannot influence it. And I'm the one who's getting wet tonight.
Hey, Tony, have a great tour.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Good. Let me tell you one story here about our trams. I'm sure you've seen them. Continue. You can't hear it. So, still working the first tour, so now it should work. Can you hear me? It worked. Perfect. So one little story about the trams. The tram you just saw behind you, well, you've seen these. They're called the Cobra, okay? Like the snake. Now, why the hell do we call our trams Cobra? Story behind it. The older tram that we used to have, they made too much noise, especially when they had to turn on the left or to the right. And well, so the city asked the people of Zurich, how do you want a new tram to be? And we said, well, definitely they have to make less noise. And our engineers worked and finally presented us those beautiful trams you just saw before. And because they don't make any noise, they called it the Cobra, like the snake. Well, it doesn't make any noise. However, what's the big problem with the Cobra? Well, you don't hear it coming, exactly. This is also the big problem. Because there have been many accidents going on with the with the Cobra. I'll just continue. There have been many accidents. And why? Because people just don't hear it. And that's actually a big problem. So the thing they wanted to fight, this problem of making too much noise, is now the other problem on the other around, as people just don't hear it coming. And therefore I always say, when you're in Zurich, it's a very safe city, it's a very clean city, but please pay attention to the tram. We'll now enter the old city of Zurich as soon as my cameraman Julien is ready. So just enjoy a bit the view. Weather is not perfect. Definitely some nice buildings to see from here. Julien, ready? Let's continue. That's, by the way, our beautiful flag. Stand here. Okay, we're not the only tour here. You see, it's a very touristic place. Many sightseeing tours are happening now here in Zurich, despite the weather. Well, can you hear me? Can you see me? Perfect. Let's talk a little bit about history. I know it's early evening here in Zurich. Don't worry, I'm not going to bother you with any historical facts or too many numbers. Let's get a brief overview over the history of Zurich. So do you know who were the first one to settle down here and actually build a city? There are many theories. It is said that the Celts were already here, but we actually all agree that the one who really built here a city were the Romans. And we'll also see more about what the Romans have left here in Zurich. So we'll talk about the Romans. So the Romans stayed here from the year about 0, the year 200, to about the year 400. Later, Zurich became part of the so-called Holy Roman Empire, ruled by a German Kaiser. We're about in the 8th, 9th century. It was ruled by a Kaiser called Louis II, Ludwig II, and he had a daughter. Her name was Hildegard. Now a question to all the ladies who are watching now. What would be the best present ever you could get from your father if you had all the money in the world? Well, I'm sure you have a lot of great imagination. What about this one? Yeah, a monastery, or today a church. I see, not too keen about that, but I can just say that Hildegard, she chose to get this kind of monastery, and it was quite a smart choice. We have the other group who will pass by. Well, at least for tonight, I'm not the only one walking without an umbrella. It rains again. Well, I can say Hildegard did a smart choice because women in the 8th, 9th century from nobility, well, they could either get married or become a nun. And Hildegard, well, she got both. She was married, had kids, and still was ruling in Zurich. And we say that for 500 years, Zurich was ruled by women. By the head of this monastery, first Hildegard, and then all the ladies that came after her. They were the one collecting the money, the tax money. They were the one minting the coins for Zurich, and most importantly, they were choosing the mayor. Now, the mayor was a man, but the women perfectly knew who they want to choose to become mayor in Zurich. And this stayed for 500 years. What's happened after? Well, we'll talk probably on our next tour, as it's a short tour today. We'll definitely cover that subject as well. Now, what's here inside today? This is something we cannot enter with the camera, unfortunately, but one reason more to come to Zurich and visit it on your own. Here we have 5 huge glass windows, stained windows by Marc Chagall. They're all 9 meters tall and all represent one story of the Bible. Now, you definitely have to watch them, or you can also find them on Google. You can also read the 5 stories. And a little tip, next time you're in Zurich, or when you come to Zurich, visit the church with a friend, and then just tell your friend what kind of story you recognize. Well, I told you, you can look it up online, but you definitely impress your friends when you know the 5 stories by heart. Go for it. Well, one other little story. Let's move a little bit here to here. We have this man sitting on the horse. You see, first tour, some improvisation, but it should work. Gina, do we have visitors? Works, very good. Always more visitors. And I'm talking to a camera. I have no idea who is watching, but I'll work also out with that. Now, one little story about the man sitting there. His name was Hans Waldmann. Also here, just let me tell you a part of the story, a very short story. People liked him. He was a very successful mayor. He won a lot of wars. And then he did something. Well, after winning the wars, he needed more money. As you know, wars cost a lot of money. And what did he do to get more money? He did what most of our politicians still do today. He raised the taxes. And, well, 1 or 2 weeks later, he was killed. He was executed by the people of Zurich because, well, they found actually another reason. They accused him of some relationships that he didn't have. But at the end of the day, they just killed him because he raised the taxes. And therefore, I say to you, please be careful. Today, our parliament is just there on the left. Our government is just there on the right. And, well, most of the people, they come from Paradeplatz, like we did now. And this should be a warning sign. When you're here in politics, do whatever you want, but never, ever raise the tax. This will not work here, for sure. Good. Shall we continue? Let's enter the old city and discover what the Romans have left us.
Why you want this photo? चलो जल्दी आओ भाई जो कोई जबरदस्ती बुलाए
here, more covered. Does it work? The light? Perfect. One tip from a local. Now we just passed some very nice boutiques. In case you come here for shopping, please pay attention how you're dressed. Especially in these shops, it is quite advised to be properly dressed. If you would enter a shop like this, for example, like me now in jeans, I'm very, very sure that they would kick me out. Doesn't matter how much money I have or what credit card I have. It's very probable they would tell me, sorry, sir, thank you very much for your visit, but maybe visit another shop. I can try it out, but be properly dressed when shopping in those expensive boutiques here in Zurich. Now, let's talk about the Romans. Two reasons why the Romans came actually to Zurich, or why they built here a city. As you might know, well, there hasn't been any chocolate here, any cheese, so they must have found another reason to come here and to choose to build here a city. And maybe you've seen it already on the tour when we passed by, but there is a river actually just behind us. It's called the Limat. And this was actually one of the main reasons why the Romans decided to build here a city. As you can imagine, with a river, all the ships that passed by are stopped, need to pay some kind of taxes, and only then they were allowed to continue. And the second reason why the Romans decided to build here a city was strategically. As you see, Zurich is quite in the center of the former Roman Empire. You can find a map, just Google it. And well, Zurich is a bit in the north of the Alps, so they often had troops here. And whenever a war broke out in the Roman Empire, they could just send the troops quite fast. That's actually the main reason why the Romans built here a city, and we'll see something more just further down. One thing you need here to pay attention, we'll enter here, are the Roman baths. Now don't expect too much, please, because they're definitely bigger and nicer baths of the Romans. We also have one in Zurich, but it's a bit smaller and not so much left, but nevertheless, let's pay attention and let's have a look. Maybe we should move the camera a bit down. It's possible to see the look. Work? Very good. Okay, we'll continue. This is all what you see. Did you also see the cigarettes? Well, there are some today. Oh, they cleaned. Yeah, I once heard that Julius Caesar was a big smoker, so he just left his cigarettes here. No, this time you find Red Bull. Also quite original, probably not from the Romans, but yeah, people throw their waste here. Here you have some nice picture or drawing about how it looked probably 1,800 years ago and how it looks today. We walk now through this Thermengasse, this narrow street, and this is just part of the bath. This has been the whole bath. It was definitely bigger, but city of Zurich decided not to excavate more as well. This is all what you will see. And if you would dig more, we'd probably have to destroy all the houses around. So it was decided we'll leave it like this with this stripe. We still have the proof that the Romans have been here, that there has been a bath here, but that's it for the moment. By the way, if you have any questions or things you want to add or any ideas, any information you want to get, please write it on YouTube and Julian will read it so I can answer them. If not, we'll walk up, or we will walk up, Julian and I. We have some stairs to walk up and discover the biggest club face in Europe. Okay, let's change sides so you can Have a look here. Can you see the clock face? This big clock. Perfect. Okay. So, well, what you just see here is the biggest clock face in Europe. It has almost 9 meters diameter, 8.7 meters. So it's very, very big. And in case you're from Britain or you're in London and watching this this video, you'll probably think that Big Ben's bigger. But believe me, we checked it more than once. And this one is indeed bigger than Big Ben. It has a total diameter, as I said, 8.7 meters, or 29 feet. While Big Ben's only 23 feet long. So it's bigger than Big Ben. However, Big Ben is, of course, taller. Now, what's so unique with the clock face here, or with this church? 3 facts I'd like to share with you. The first, I already told you about the size. It's the biggest clock face. And the second interesting thing, you cannot see it from here, but there are actually 4 sides. There are 4 clocks on each side. And it used to be also the only watch in the city of Zurich. The only clock, the only watch in the city of Zurich. Already from the 13th century, as you know, Swiss people are very punctual. There hasn't been any excuse of running late since 800 years. Because everybody could read the time. And it's actually the highest spot of the old city. So whenever you are here in Zurich, and if you lost or you don't know where you are, if you can read the time, you know that you're in the city center, in the so-called old city, former city. It's the highest spot, and still today we're not allowed to build taller buildings than 25 meters. There are exceptions outside in District 5. We'll also do a tour there, Zurich West Shore one day. So this one is the tallest building in the old city. Now, what else is so unique here? If you look at the tower and the nave of the church next to it, on the right, or on my left, well, you don't have to be an architect, but they don't really fit together, you see? And this is because the nave of the church was built about 400 years later to the tower. And this brings us to a very funny situation, that we have 2 different owners. Now, if somebody asks you who's the owner of this building, well, there are 2 correct answers. The nave of the church belongs to the Protestant Church of Zurich, of the state of Zurich, which is the obvious one. However, the tower belongs to the city of Zurich. And why to the city? Because, as I said, it's not only the highest spot, it was also used by the city, or more precise, by the fire brigade until 1911. Well, they were standing there, or sitting there, and were watching out for fire. And in case the firemen saw a fire, took out the big red flag, and pointed the direction that the fire came from. Now, as I told you, there are 4 windows, so you could perfectly point to the more or less precise point that the fire came from, and the, well, let's call them fire brigade, would have come and extinguished the fire. And we also say that fire is actually Zurich, or has been Zurich's biggest enemy. Now, if you look around, maybe you can throw out the camera, the houses here, they're built extremely close to each other, really one to each other. And people were heating with wood. So there has been more than one big fire in the city of Zurich. That's why a very, very important place or important job that the fireman has. Now, I hope that Julie and I have got good shoes, because we're going to climb a little bit up. For you, just relax for the next 2 minutes. We're going to walk up to Lindenhof. And, well, we'll see how's the view today. Hopefully we won't see the mountains. But still, we're going to have a nice look over the city of Zurich. Let's walk up.
Okay.
Okay, one short stop here. Honestly, because I need to breathe. We're quite fast today. Have a look at this tombstone you see here. Now, there are two stories I'd like to share. One is the sad story. If you read here what's written here, it's mainly about Lucius Aelius Urbicus. It was a baby, 1 year, 5 months, and 9 days old, and the baby died, as unfortunately many babies did during the Roman time. So this baby died, and the father of Lucius Aelius Urbicus decided to build here a tombstone. And the important message that we got through that is that we know how the Romans called the city. Now, as you know, today it's Zurich. Zurich is an English word. In German we say Zurich, and this derives from the Roman word Turicum. So the Romans gave actually the name Turicum. And now another thing we learned thanks to this tombstone, it's written Station Turicensis. So for those of you who have studied Latin, it means the station of Zurich, Zurich station. And what do we learn by that? Historians have told us that for the Romans, this wasn't really an important city as it is today for us. It was mainly a station or a tax collecting point. And all this information we actually got thanks to this sentence, Station Turicensis. That's it. And honestly, I just needed some minute to breathe. Now we can continue. We have another 20 meters to walk up. Yeah, we're running tour today. Next time we'll do the running tour, by the way. We'll see how we perform. Great. Well, what is there here to see? By the way, if you look behind you here on these stones here is where you do the push-ups, and there you do the sit-ups. I'm not joking. If you come to Zurich, you can participate. We have boot camp, like probably also in your city. And this is where we sprint up, and here we do the push-ups, here the sit-ups. I did participate once, and that's why, well, here you're clearly out of shape. But, so if you want to do your push-ups, feel free. But for the other one who want to continue the tour, now we're going to see or discover the old city of Zurich, or at least what we see here from this high spot called Lindenhof. And, well, I cannot tell you take some nice pictures, but pay attention and enjoy. Let's go over there. Yeah, just take some. Okay, let me tell you 2-3 little things about the buildings you see here. One who is over there is the Großmünster. We won't visit it today on today's tour, but definitely on the next one. We'll do the other side of the Limmat. Limmat is, by the way, the name of this river you see here. Now we have a lot of water as it's raining, and it has been raining for the last week here. Other important buildings, the one with the green roof on the back. The one in the front is a church. The one on the back is the University of Zurich, headquarters. And next to it, when you go a bit further to the left, you see the ETH. Now the ETH, for all the German speakers, it means Eidgenössische Technische Hochschule. In English, it's the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology. Or in Swiss English, it's called the Swiss MIT. Now, why do we mention MIT? Because indeed there have been many people here who have studied here or have been professors here and who have won a Nobel Prize later. You can find it up on the website of ETH. You'll see all the names. But let me just mention two of them. I'm sure you all know them. One is Albert Einstein, that has been at university and at ETH. And the other one is Wilhelm Röntgen, the discoverer of the X-ray. He has also been here at the ETH. And there is another man, I'm sure you all know him, that has been here in Zurich. It's the Italian Casanova. Yeah, Casanova has been 3 days in Zurich, and then he fell in love with a girl from Solothurn, and then he went to Solothurn and then back to Italy. And Casanova wrote or said that, well, Zurich is a beautiful city. The women are beautiful, but everything's here a bit boring. And he said it's 300 years ago, and some people would say it would still be correct or true for today. Now, why do I mention Casanova? I mean, we all agree Einstein, Röntgen, they have really contributed to science. Casanova maybe a bit less. The reason why I mention him is behind the ETH, you have this tall gray building, ugly building. That's the University Hospital. It's a very big hospital, the biggest in Zurich, and they have a lot of funny commercials. One of the commercials they used 3 years ago in all the trams in Zurich was the following: we operate on more hearts every year than Casanova broke in his entire life. To give you the numbers, they operate on 3,500 hearts per year, which makes about 10 hearts per day, while the big womanizer Casanova apparently only broke about 185 women's hearts. So you see where you can go if something's wrong with your heart. But let's talk about what would we do here in Switzerland if we would face real problems, for example, war. There is a solution for that. We'll do some more spots, two more spots, and then we already also conclude this today's tour. Just one little thing I'd like to add. You probably might think that Zurich is a very expensive city. It is. But there are two things that are free and of prime quality. One is our tours, obviously. I hope you'll agree on that, of course. And the second one is the water. You can drink water. There are 1,200 fountains, about 1,200 fountains in Zurich, and you can perfectly drink this water. I'll prove. Amazing water. If it was summer, I would also jump here and swim. Now it's a bit cold and still raining. Yeah, but we have more than 1,200 fountains, and this is absolutely amazing. So no need to buy water here. You just have your bottle and walk around. We'll definitely find some fountains. Okay, Julien, you ready? We'll go to our next spot and talk about some serious issues that we might, hopefully never, but face in Switzerland. Again, there is another group. Danke schön. Genau, danke vielmals. Swiss German, it means thank you very much. Careful. You know what's that? It's a bunker, or shelter, a bomb shelter. And we have a lot of these in Switzerland. In total, there is enough place for the whole population, including all the tourists, so we're all safe. Now, why the hell do we need this system? As you might know, the last war that Switzerland has really been engaged to was about 200 years ago with Napoleon. And since then, there hasn't been, luckily, any wars here in Switzerland. Nevertheless, Switzerland was, of course, always afraid of being attacked, especially during the Second World War, when all of Western Europe fell to Nazi Germany in summer 40. course, also the Swiss army was confronted or afraid of being attacked. And the idea was that the population needs to be, however, so protected, and they started building bunkers. And it's still true today that even if you build today a house, you need either to have a bunker or pay a tax to the city that will take care of having public bunkers like this one, for example. Now, after World War II, after 45, the question was if we still need the bunker system. And, well, Switzerland was afraid during the Cold War, being attacked by the Soviets. And even after the Cold War, to understand a bit the Swiss mentality in terms of defending the country, we like everybody, but we don't trust anyone. Well, that's about the point. So that's why we still have a lot of bunkers, and we still have an army, quite a big army, by the way, and still mandatory for all men to join the army. Nevertheless, only about 55 or 60% of the men really join the army. The other 40% have psychological or physical problems. One of the very famous one who had some problem was Roger Federer. I'm sure you all know him, the tennis player. Well, he couldn't join the army because I think he had something on the right or left knee. Well, unfortunate. He's really unfortunate. As you see, we really take the best of the best. It's quite competitive to enter the Swiss army. No, let's honestly say it has also been a change. Because today, when you do the army, you serve 21 weeks. And then every year, you have a 3 weeks or 4 weeks repetition course. And, well, your employer needs to give you green vacation and set you free for this time. And let's say the generation before ours, 30 years ago, during the Cold War, it was very important for your career to be a high-ranked officer in the army. That's why, well, one of the first questions in any job interview was, okay, what was your job in the army? What did you do in the army? Well, today it's more the opposite. Today, if you're a high-ranked officer and you miss a lot of days in your job, it is more considered bad or more negative than positive. And that's why many people have some problems in order to avoid the army. One last story I'd like to share with you. Then we will have another stop and talk about food, and then we'll finish the tour for today. One story about the army. Until 2007, we served in the army. As I said, we served 21 weeks, and then we have every year a repetition course. We had the rifle, including 50 bullets, at home. Why? Because in case the war breaks out, well, for example, I'm serving in the army. I would go home. I would take my rifle, my bullets, and be ready to fight and go to the meeting point. Now, there has been some horrible homicide in 2007. The one guy who finished the base or the boot camp just killed a girl that was waiting for the bus out of the blue. And then the whole discussion started about we still need to have this rifle and these bullets at home. So what did we have? The left party, I'll make it really easy. So the left party said, it doesn't make any sense to have a rifle and bullets at home today. Well, it made sense 100 years ago, but today it doesn't make any sense. So when you go to the army, you take your rifle, you use it, and after you finish, you put it back to the arsenal, and you go home, and you have the repetition course, you'll just grab your rifle again. The right party said, no, tradition, and that's our mentality. The power lays within the people and not within the government, and therefore every man who has served in the army, by the way, women are allowed to serve, but almost no women do it. That's why the right party said every man should keep his rifle home because that's a tradition. And this is how, well, as I said, the power lays within us and not within the government. So what do we do in Switzerland when we have two different opinions? We vote, and also we find a compromise. And how does the compromise look today? Well, we still have the rifle at home, but without ammunition. Yeah, that's a Swiss solution for that. Let's continue and talk about food, which is also a very important subject here. Julia, you all right? Mm-hmm. Let's continue. careful here. Let's go to the Limmat, and then we'll talk about food. By the way, the flags you see here, Switzerland, the red and white, and the other one is Zurich, the blue white. Cover. We're crossing now the Limmat, the bridge, the river.
Ja, glaube ich, ja. Ja, nein, nicht genau.
Closer? Can you hear it? Yeah? First of all, can you read the time? Remember the big clock face? Can you read the time from here? Well, I hope you can, because we're here actually one of the oldest posts of the old city. And as I said, this used to be the only watch in Zurich, the only clock. So people were meant to be able to read the time and to see. Well, as you can see, it's not very big, but probably you can read it from there. Right, Julian? See. Okay, let's talk about food. Two things I'd like to share with you about food. One is an amazing news, and one is a very bad. Because we're world champion in two things, the good one and the bad one. Let's start with the good one. We are the biggest chocolate consumer in the world. Now, it really depends what statistic you believe in, but generally it is said that we eat between 12 and 14 kilogram chocolate per person per year. I had 300 grams today, so I'm definitely an average plus. I know it. That's why I need to do the sports and the tours. And yeah, we're the world champion at that. And we also believe that we've got the best chocolate in the world. Now, in case you're watching here from Belgium, you will probably disagree. As it is well known that the Belgian chocolate, or some people say that the Belgian chocolate is better than the Swiss chocolate. Now, I know that it's not true, because I did study in Belgium 4 years ago in Bruges, and we did a test. We were 300 students from 57 countries. We made an ultimate test, so we, the Swiss students, bought some chocolate. We asked our Belgian colleagues to do as well. They also bought chocolate. We agreed on the price, how much every chocolate should cost. And well, we asked our Turkish friend Ergun to be the referee. Yeah, usually we are the referees, but but this competition, it probably wouldn't work. So he was the referee, and we asked people to taste chocolate. And in total, 71% of the people preferred the Swiss chocolate. So therefore, I believe that this is very scientific, and we won this competition. One of the things, by the way, if you want to read it, Ergun wrote a quite funny paper, an 8-page paper about this chocolate competition. Just send us an email to zurich@freewalk.ch, and I'll hand you out the paper that you wrote. The other thing I'd like to talk to you is, well, the bad news concerning food. We are, unfortunately, the biggest food waster in the world. To give you the number, we waste 89 or 90 kilogram food per person per year, which is about a third of all produced food is thrown away. There are many reasons. Household is one problem. Let's be honest. Well, you can check it as well. Today is the 16th. So open your fridge. If you see a yogurt which has expired on the 15th, would you still eat it? Well, unfortunately, many Swiss people do not. That's one problem. And the other problem is also, I wouldn't say problem, but we also have very strict hygienic laws. That means when a restaurant couldn't, when part of the food isn't eaten, they have to throw it away. They cannot just bring it to anyone else or transport it to a charity because the hygienic law is very strict. Therefore, we're the biggest food waster. So we'll hope definitely that this will change one day.
And
Question?
we have two questions. Well, no, we have one question, sorry. And we have first a hello from David from Mexico.
Hola, David.
Says, Hola, soy de Mexico.
Hola, bienvenido en Zurich. La próxima vez tienes que venir aquí. Tenemos también recorridos en español. Sábados y domingos.
And we have
Bienvenido.
Patrick who asks, what are the flags behind you? Which are here, if you can see them.
Patrick from?
It's not
From
written.
Ireland. The flags behind you, yeah, good question. As you remember, the other flags we saw before were Switzerland and Zurich. Now, all these flags you see here are the so-called trade guild flags. Now, this is another subject we'll cover on the next tour, definitely, about the trade guilds. But just to sum it up very shortly, the trade guilds were ruling in Zurich for about 500 years. And they have different guilds. There were 13 first and then more. And each guild had their own flag. But as I said, we'll talk about that on the next tour. So these are all the flags of the different trade guilds that you see here. Okay? No more questions? Or anyway, if there are more questions, as I said, you can always send it to zurich@freewalk.ch. I would like to conclude the tour and just tell you a little bit why we are doing this. Why we're standing here in the middle of the rain without people physically participating on this tour. Let me tell you about our vision that we have. We're an association called Free Walk Switzerland, and we believe that everybody should be able to participate on a tour. And that's why we have every day in Zurich and also in Geneva, and hopefully soon also in the other cities, every day a tour, a free walk. That means it's completely free to participate. People who like the tour can contribute something, but it's completely free. You don't need, of course, it's free of charge. And we also believe that some people cannot come to Zurich, or they are in Zurich and cannot join the tour, physical reasons or any other reasons, and some people cannot afford also to come to Zurich. And we still believe that those people should also participate or have the possibility to participate on the tour. And that's why we will start now offering those online tours more and more often. And what's for you important, as I said, if you have any questions, suggestions, any ideas how we can do it better, please send us an email, zurich@freewalk.ch. And I'll be very happy to do the next tour. It's going to be probably next month. And till then, I wish you a great time. And very soon the next football game is starting, the Euro Cup. So don't miss it. Have a great evening for those who are here in Europe. And looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.